świecie, w którym nadużywamy słów ikona i legenda, Slash jest jednym z nielicznych, którzy w pełni zasługują na tę mianę. Serce zespołu Guns N' Roses, wybitny muzyk, który współpracował z największymi gwiazdami Michaelem Jacksonem, Rihanną, Fergie, Bobem Dylanem, Iggy Popem czy Lenny Krawitzem. Jego kapelusz, papieros i bujne włosy stały się symbolem supergwiazdy rocka, jaką niewątpliwie jest Soul Hudson.
Living the Dream is the title of the latest album you, Miles and Conspirators made. I'm wondering if you are living your dream right now.
Yeah, technically yes.
Uh-huh.
Living the Dream as a title wasn't supposed to be meant literally like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sort of tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic statement that we always say whenever it's like somebody goes, "How you doing?" "Oh, living the dream," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like when people are working and they sort of have a tense. And I use the phrase in relationship to politics that have been going on, obviously in the States, but also globally, you know. And that's what this. But you know, that said, you know, being able to. You know, looking at what I've been doing for the last however many years, I can honestly say that I've been sort of living the dream for when I was 15 years old and picked up the guitar.
That's
you know?
what I mean.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Slash, you are labeled as icon, as a legend, as a super rock star. I'm wondering if sometimes you get this feeling like, oh my God, I just want to play jam in some small club with friends when nobody knows me and being anonymous again. Do you get this feeling sometimes?
I'm not really. I don't play the big sort of big rock star guy very well. I'm not that guy. So I do just say fuck it, and I just want to play, and that's all I really focus on. And you know, I pretty much am playing all the time, and it's not too different than what you just said. Except for, you know, hopefully people will know who you are when you show up at a venue. But it's very much a passion thing for me, and all the other sort of bullshit that comes with having arrived at any sort of form of success.
Being a celebrity and so.
Yeah, but I just don't do the celebrity thing. I'm not. If people sort of maybe might want to try and see me in that kind of a role, but it just doesn't stick.
You don't get to be labeled, that's right. Slash, in your biography, I read that you've been stealing cassettes when you've been a teenager from the music shop. But nowadays we have Spotify, iTunes, all the stuff. Musicians can earn money in many ways. What do you think about this modern way of earning money in music industry? Is it easier to earn money today, or was it in the 80s, 70s, 90s?
Well, this is a longer story than we have time for, but I mean, the whole streaming thing, if you remember back in the sort of late 90s, early millennium, whatever it was, when everybody was doing the file sharing thing. I mean, that whole sort of like the internet basically killed the music industry. And so now we've sort of come out of it with this streaming services, but they don't pay anywhere near the royalties that buying a CD or a record pays. So it's definitely hurt the music business in a big way. So it's easier for customers, but it's definitely not doing any favors to the actual artist.
How do you choose the musicians you play with? Because always with the Conspirators, with Velvet Revolver and all the bands, you get the greatest musicians at the current time. So how do you choose them? Is there any casting to play with Slash? If there is, I want to go.
No, that's a good question. I jam a lot, and you meet people, and I do a lot of sessions or whatever. And you meet people, and you remember people that you played with that you felt really comfortable playing with, or that you thought were really good, or whatever. And I've been doing this a long time, so I know a lot of musicians. But what for me personally, you're usually looking for people that really have a natural gift for the sort of rock and roll feel. It just sort of, I mean, one of the great things about the Conspirators was I didn't know any of them.
Okay.
And I did not see it coming. I worked with Miles on my first solo record. I never heard him sing before, and I'd heard a lot about him. And I called him up and asked him if he wanted to sing a song on this solo record with all these different singers. And he sang on a song and he was amazing. So we ended up doing 2 songs together on that record. And then I was like, well, I have to do a tour to support this record, and I can't bring all these different singers on the road with me. Would you like to do it? Because I knew that he had the kind of range that he could do all that different material, and then also Velvet Revolver songs and Guns N' Roses songs and Snake Pit songs and all that. And so when he agreed to do it, then I had to go look for musicians for the actual band. And I was introduced to Brent Fitz, who I'd never heard of and I'd never met before. And he was amazing. And so at the time, I actually did have a bass player that I was working with who he was a really good musician, but he wasn't the right feel for what it was that I was trying to do. So Brent goes, I know this guy named Todd that lives in Vegas. He's really good. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, call him, you know.
Okay.
And so Todd came down and he was fucking, like, I couldn't have asked for a better bass player. And it just clicked. So that was a chance thing where the stars aligned and put me in contact with the right musicians without me having known anything about them.
Okay.
You know?
When you decided to play guitar and leave the bike thing you had in your life, did you have any kind of crisis during, you know, all the career that you hate guitar and think like, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too, I'm bored with this. Did you have this kind of crisis as a guitarist? That was fast. Okay.
Yeah, no, I never had. I had a lot of crises with other people who were trying to get me to do something that I didn't want to do, or you know, weren't agreeing with my dedication to the guitar because it was taking time away from other things or whatever. I had a lot of that, but I had a lot of people telling me to give it up. You know, that there were too many guitar players or blah, blah, blah. But I never got bored with it myself, no. That's probably how I got through it all.
For sure.
You know?
For sure. Living the dream, I want to ask you about how long was the process of making this album and when you did it? Because you're always on tour. I always see Slash on tour. And then bam, we get a new album.
Well, when in 2015, when we were on the road doing World on Fire, right? You know, on the road is when I do all my writing.
Okay, so in the bus, for example. In the bus, for example.
And, yeah, or in the hotel rooms or in dressing rooms or whatever. I'm always playing my guitar, yeah. I didn't bring it in this room, but it's down the hall.
Okay, we have one here,
So I'd written a bunch of stuff, and then at the end of the tour, we got together and we started jamming some of these ideas. Then the Guns N' Roses thing came up, and so we sort of put it on pause, and then I went and did Guns N' Roses for a while. And about, as soon as there was a sizable break, which was in January of 2018, we got together and I wrote some new material and then got the old material and we sort of reshaped that. And we just real quick just went in and made a record, finished it, then I went back on the road with Guns N' Roses, and then as soon as that tour was over, we started a tour, started this tour where we went to Asia and now we're here in Europe.
So are you a workaholic?
It's not so much that, I mean, everybody calls me a workaholic. I mean, I think it's just that I really love what it is that I do. And in order to be able to do it, you have to be at it all the time. You can't just sort of hang around. I mean, some people do that, but I'm not like that. I want to make a new record. I want to go on the road. I want to go make another record. I want to go back on the road. You know, I'm like that. So maybe it's a workaholic thing, but you know, I love jamming. I love playing. That's what it is.
The thing I always wanted to ask you is, what do you think about all the teenagers wearing t-shirts with the bands, not even knowing the music? Is it okay for you? Are you okay with that? Or?
You know, I mean, the funny one to me is all the kids that wear CBGB shirts. They have no idea what CBGB is. But I mean, you know, in a way, it's sort of carrying the torch. You know, people are wearing, it might be fashionable to some sort of a statement, but in a way it keeps that brand alive. So, you know, it's cool. You can't get angry with people because they're wearing a t-shirt they think looks cool and have no idea what the band is that's on it. You know?
Okay, so my last question is just a quickies. Keith Richards or Jimmy Page?
What was the first one?
Keith Richards or Jimmy Page?
Oh, fuck. That's not fair.
I know.
Yeah, they're so different that I couldn't I mean, I love Jimmy Page, but I mean, I really grew up on Keith Richards. So
Okay, so Keith Richards.
yeah, it's a.
Lady Gaga or Madonna?
I have to go with Lady Gaga on that.
Okay. This is stupid. I don't know why I chose this. Les Paul or BC Rich? I think it's obvious.
Well, I mean, I'm a Les Paul guy, but I do play BC Richards.
Okay.
You know, so.
So both.
Yeah.
Let's say. New metal or hip hop?
What was the first one?
New metal?
New metal? Oh, Iggy Pop.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Touring in the USA or touring in Europe?
I'd have to, I mean, you know, all my friends in the States will hate me for this, but I have to say touring in Europe.
Yes, we have. And the last one, Bitcoin or dollar?
The Bitcoin or dollar?
Okay.
I've never even used Bitcoin, but as far as I know, it's not, it doesn't sound like a healthy thing.
Okay. Mr. Hudson, I would love to talk longer with you. I know we can't, but I hope next time we get the chance. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure and an honor
nice
for me,
talking to you.
really.